Thank you for browsing page 121. Today we're going to jump into a dragon from 40 years ago. Dragon number 106. Inside for our 350 we got 7 new Paladins, the Hows and Whys of Magic, and more skills for Rangers. Really nice cover. I always like that cover. So now we go inside. The inside cover. The quest continues. Talisman. Talisman and Talisman expansion from Games from Games Workshop. GW, the guys bring us 40K and Age of Sigmar. Middle Earth role playing from Iron Crown Enterprises. MERPs. I like MERPs. It was interesting. The modules read really well, but they were strangely laid out. I don't even know if I have any MERPs left. I read several of these back in the 90s and early 2000s. So there we go, Dragon number 106. And we got our table of contents here about the cover. TSR staff artist Keith Parkinson enters the rank of cover artist for Dragon Magazine with Velshi. Okay, then we got a letters section, letters to the editor, and then an editorial by Kim Mullen. World Gamers Guide. Where in the world can you find these games? Well, right here. Before the internet, we had magazines. Pendragon, chivalric role-playing in Arthur's Britain. It's the game of quest, romance, and adventure from Chaosium, Albany, California. Never played Pendragon. The forum, these are slightly longer, more specific letters to the editor. And then we have Axis and Allies from Milton Bradley. One of the few strategy games ever rated 5 stars from Game News. Look at that, 5 stars. Axis and Allies. That's one of these games that I always saw, but I've never played. The Laws of Magic, how the AD&D universe works and why. This is really good article for just kind of shaping your thinking a little bit about magic and how and why it does what it does. A little bit on psionics. Continuing on the article, we have an ad for Illuminati from Adventure Systems in Houston, Texas. And then we have Clean Up Your Act. We revised D&D player character record sheet package. You can clean up your act from TSR, the makers of products for your imagination. Continuing on our article on magic. And then we have the Chaos Wars have broken out from Relpartha Enterprises. More new figures for Relpartha in early 86. I don't know if I have any of these guys. I don't believe I do. Casting spells for cash. How magic user PCs can earn their keep. I actually had a couple of players get kind of enterprising about that when they were about 5th or 6th level. One was an MU, one was a cleric. They took me aside between games and said, hey, this is what we want to do. We want to make some money casting spells. And I asked, how's your deity going to feel about you cashing in on his power and things like that? And they gave me good arguments, and I said, what the heck? I thought it was a cool idea. So I had a little run there where they were doing a side business where they were making money between adventures, casting spells for people. That was fun, actually. It's good role-playing. I worked it into the main campaign a little bit, too. But continuing casting for spells, we go to the Ecology of the Mater. Medusa's male counterpart does what she doesn't. I actually like the Mater a lot. I use the heck out of this. This is very present in my campaign. Mater is a male Medusa. You can walk through walls and other kind of stuff, and it's just a really interesting monster for your game. Then we have the Fantasy News Flash from the Duncan Company in Calvert, Texas. New Orc Catapult and Crew. Lots of figures from them. I never had any of the Duncan, as far as I know. Money isn't everything, except to those poor beginning characters. Money at the beginning of D&D. That could be a bit of a heartbreak for you. You see all this good stuff in the book you want to buy, and you don't have nearly enough cash. Good incentive to go adventuring. Then we have Deadly Battletech, a game of armored combat. The best tank game in 30 centuries. And we have modules Black Widow and Fox's Teeth. Battletech was a really good game. It was new around this time. It had been out since '84. But now it was in a tabletop format instead of a book versus book format. And I would start playing a few years later. But I had these modules, and I really loved Battletech. Had a whole group of it, and at a game store we played at, but the game store closed, and we all kind of walked away. But I still like playing Battletech from time to time. If you follow my channel, you've seen that. Continuing on, Money Isn't Everything. Dawn of the Ancients. Publishers of Earthwood for the CSI game system, I think that is. Miami, Florida. Don't know that one that either. Rafa Miniatures, Shadows and Steel. Oh, I have this set. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I have this entire set. It's like a whole vampire thing. It was really cool. Wizard's Adventure Party, don't have. Conquistador Dwarves, and the Iron Brotherhood, I don't have them. Ratham Company out of Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. Open them if you dare. A dozen Wheelmer doors to delight DMs. This by Ed Greenwood. I use the heck out of this article. I still refer to it now and again for different door ideas. It can be boring if every door is trapped or every door isn't trapped, so you've got to mix it up, and you got to mix up what's going on with the door sometimes. It can be a lot of fun. And then we have a little note here for guidelines if you're interested in contributing an article to Dragon Magazine. The Ranger Redefined, systems for giving the class more skills. Okay. This kind of led to the Ranger books of the second edition. It was this kind of idea, and I have no issue with it. Rangers are really just specialized fighters in a lot of tables, and I don't mind seeing a little bit of expansion on the class. The quest is over for Fantasy Wear. Fantasy Wear order form from Fantasy Wear in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Never bought any of that stuff. Continuing out our article on the Ranger, we go to Traveler, Role-Playing the Future. Interstellar Trader, Mercenary, Alien, Explorer, Starship Captain. New, the Spinward Marches campaign. I love GDW. I love Traveler. We just played Traveler the other day, did a session 0. Tremendously successful. We had a blast. And it was so successful, it's going to be my active duty campaign, if you follow Traveler with me, that my players have asked, since we only created the one character last night, the command crew character, they actually asked for a second session 0 to make their other 2 characters in that campaign. I was blown away by that. I said, absolutely, let's do it. So, Traveler, great game. Continuing out the Ranger skills. I disagree with the skies for Rangers, but I'm not going to pick nit. There we continue out. Lots of nice tables for this. Good ideas. Villains and Vigilantes, a superhero role-playing game from Fantasy Games Unlimited. V&V, that was the first superhero role-playing game I ever played. Finishing out our Ranger article, we have Party Zone. The party starts the minute you open the box. A Party Zone entertainment game, the excitement never stops. Look at that. Mystery lurks around every corner. Everyone has a secret spiring scenario, the Inheritance Knave of Hearts, from TSR. TSR was trying anything at this time because D&D was waning a little bit in popularity by 86. The fad had kind of run its craze a little bit. There were still people playing, of course, but the D&D club I had been in, it was just about gone by this time. So we have more range for Rangers, new tables for determining PC's followers. I do like this. The PC followers in the Ranger and for the DMG, for the Ranger in the DMG are not that great. So more charts for you. Man to Man, Orc Slayer by Steve Jackson Games. The first supplement for Man to Man. Continuing out our Ranger follower ideas. Then we get an ad for the Armory. Armory paint sets. I love Armory. They made good stuff. I don't know if they still do. I think they're still around. Looking at Illinois, we're looking at Granite City and Games Plus in Mount Prospect. Games Plus is still there. I have no idea about Granite City. That's about 30 miles west of me, but I've never been out there. The way we really play, development of a DM is a 3-stage process. You know, it's funny, DMing is such a personal thing. How you DM is different from how anybody else DMs. And being an older gamer, I learned by just sitting at the table and doing it. And then I stayed as the DM for a lot of my time, but in the early days we had multiple DMs in the same campaign. And then by about 82, 83, a lot of the DMs had moved on to other things, and I was kind of left, and I held the campaigns open and ended up kind of becoming forever DM by about the mid-80s. Been there for 40 years now. I play maybe 2 or 3 games a year, otherwise I'm the DM or GM. Bushido, to combat playing a samurai, from Fantasy Games Unlimited out of Roslyn, New York. Bad idea, good game? Yeah, yes, it can happen, but not all the time. So this is an article about just a good idea, but a game that doesn't really work. Interesting. World Action and Adventure, the universal system for realistic role-playing. By this point, D&D, of course, was still kind of the gold standard, but you were starting to see other companies branch out and try other things. That, of course, is common now, but then this was new. This was kind of cutting edge. So this is WANA Book of Animals and Geography, and Product Encyclopedia, and these guys, oh, they were all around, okay. Santa Fe, New Mexico. Continuing on our article, we've got Amazing Stories, now a TV series. March of '86 issue coming out. And that was from TSR. And then Believe in the Magic, fantasy role-playing supplements for experienced gamer. The Atlantean trilogy from Bard Games, where fantasy becomes reality. Bard Games out of Greenwich, Connecticut. Are you missing a Dragon magazine in your lair? Here's your chance to fill it in, and you can fill it in pretty much for cover price. This was a pretty good deal. I had them, but it was a pretty good deal. A plethora of Paladins. Alignment is everything to these 7 NPCs. This is an interesting take on Paladin class, and you can have Paladins be something other than lawful good and devoted to different causes and such. And that's interesting. I've never really adopted it. Our Paladins are still devoted to lawful good and their god and all that fun stuff. But this is another way to look at it. An NPC way. I may have to reread this article. I haven't read it in a long time. Maybe there's some stuff in here I'll take now. And they have it nice in the center with a couple more spells for Paladins. Oh, this is a long article, and it's in the center so you can pull it out and have it at your table for when you bring those NPC Paladins out. That's a good sized article. Just one little neighborhood in Lankmar, City of Adventure, from TSR. I had a bunch of the Lankmar stuff. It never really clicked with me. The stories never landed with me either. Fritz Lieber, good writer. I just never got into it. I've read several Fafford and Gray Mouser stories, but never my cup of tea. Previews, what's coming out? Greyhawk Adventure novels. Artifact of Evil 2 was coming out. Wow, for $4. The second Gord the Rogue, and probably my favorite. OA1, Oriental Adventures 1 module, Swords of the Daimyo. B10, Night's Dark Terror. Destiny of Kings for AD&D. Tree of Life for D&D. Inheritance Party Zone. Knave of Hearts Party Zone. And Dragon Sword of Lankmar one-on-one game book. Interesting. Other previews we have, Amazing Stories books. And stuff shipping in March is Dragonlance 12. Marvel Superheroes 9. Prisoner of Elderwood, Endless Quest. Scepter of Power, an adventure game book. And coming retractions. Let's see. So these are games that were going to be out but aren't. It looks like Terrible Swiss Sword, Barbarossa are 2 games that are not coming out ever. And Profile, TSR Profiles, where people that worked at the magazine got a little personal look. And this is for John Pickens and Steve Winter. And then we have some fiction, Intruder by Russell Madden. I don't remember reading this one. Looks a little sci-fi, which is good. And then we go to the Ares game section, the science fiction gaming section. I've always loved Ares. One of my favorite features of Dragon. Oh, we don't have a table of contents or an editorial now. We're just getting notes from the underground, tips for paranoia traders. Interesting, I played Paranoia a couple of times, and it's being published by Mongoose right now. It's not something my guys really are interested in. I've asked them a couple of times if they wanted to take a look at the new system, and they were not interested. You're player versus player in a lot of that. I realize it doesn't have to be that way, but that's how it's generally set up. So we finish out our Paranoia article. And then we got TSR, At Last the Real Thing, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Miniatures. I don't know how many of these I have. I have a few of these. I think I got that Paladin, this Magic User. Huh, that's really interesting. A Norkers and a Gorgon. This is from Citadel Miniatures under the AD&D license. Stellar Feedback. Readers Write on Science Fiction Gaming. Okay, that's kind of cool. Little feedback about science fiction gaming. Chivalry and Sorcery and Daredevils for Fantasy Games Unlimited. Okay. Fantasy Games Unlimited put out a lot of books. The Marvel File, Alpha and Omega, Part 1. This is a look at Alpha Flight and then the other parts of it, Omega Flight, and there were a bunch of different flights, Beta Flight. Alpha Flight was an interesting title. It's a comic book. A bunch of Canadian superheroes written by John Byrne. It was an interesting idea. The New Humans, Pure Strain Humans in the Gamma World game. This was an interesting article because Pure Strain Humans were tough to play in Gamma World, or are tough to play in Gamma World, but they get a bunch of hit points and some other abilities. It can make them fun. So we continue our article there. Sci-World from Fantasy Games Unlimited. Continuing out our article on being a human in Gamma World. Finishing it out. And you'll be amazed by the tales we'll tell you. Amazing stories from Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Again, TSR was trying to become a publishing house beyond just D&D and gaming stuff. Didn't really stick too well. Convention calendar. Go back in your Wayback Machine and you can go to these conventions. No, I didn't go to any of these in 86. 86 I was working a new job and didn't have much time off. And then we have Write On. Got a question about an article. Go ahead and write it and make sure you got a self-addressed stamped envelope coming back. And we have the forum finishing up here. It finishes here in 89. The Gamer's Guide, kind of personal ads for gamers around the area. I always read these just to see if there's anything I was interested in. Wormy. Gotta love Wormy. Dave Trampier. Dragon Mirth. Enjoy Dragon Mirth. And of course, Snarf Quest. 3 pages of Snarf Quest. And that leads us to West End Games. It's fun or it's free. At West End, we only publish great games. You'll agree or your money back. I played Paranoia under West End, and I played there when they had the Star Wars license. I played theirs. Both were really good games. Star Wars was really good. And then we go to the back cover, which is Rollmaster, the classic fantasy role-playing system from Iron Crown Enterprises. If you like charts and tables and rolling, Rollmaster is for you. Rollmaster, R-O-L-E, Master, was often punned as R-O-L-L, Master, because you had to roll a lot of dice to make most of their stuff work. Space Master, which is akin to that, was in the same boat. But there you have it, just a brief look at Dragon number 106 from February 1986, 40 years ago. And for our 350, we got a pretty good magazine. I loved the Mater article out of this one. I thought it was a really good article. This is when we started seeing Ares' section shrink down a little bit, and I don't think Ares' section was around much longer. I don't even know if it made it all the way to 86, but we'll find out together as I page through these. But that's all I've got today from page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe. Tell your friends to keep growing the channel. Take a look at the Patreon, see if you can help me out there. But that's it. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you next time on page 121.